Welcome back, adventurer. Today's creature has been described as a giant sad skeleton that has a habit of eating its feelings. So come, pull up a stool at Creature Tavern. Hey, it's you again, my favourite human. Here, I've got a nice cold stool for you. Take a seat as I entertain and amuse you with tales of the Gashadokuro, or Hungry Skeleton, is a yokai from Japanese folklore. Some call it the Starving Skeleton, others the Rattling Bones, and it's a monstrous titan, a giant skeleton made from thousands of bones. Folks around here say it's born from the spirits of those who died in famine or war, left unburied and forgotten. Their anger and hunger fuse together, and what you get is a towering abomination, taller than the tallest tree. Many tales of the Gashadokuro say the eyes glow with a supernatural yellow, but that fella over there, for some reason he thinks it's green. And most of my patrons, they claim they're hollow, empty with a darkness that'll freeze your blood, and the sound it makes. One of my regulars described it as a rattling of dry bones or the grinding of teeth, sending out a foreboding echo of the horrors about to loom over the land. And that's if you're lucky enough to hear it at all. The legends say a great amount of suffering is required to manifest these mammoth horrors. War, plagues, or famines, they'll do quite nicely, as they provide a very high number of bodies. And if these bodies don't receive the proper burial rites, their souls are stuck, unable to move on, eternally chained to this world and filled with that anger or pain that ferments, continuing to fester long after the flesh has rotted from bone, eventually twisting into a supernatural bitterness against the living, till enough bones have piled up and a Gashadokuro is born. And I'm not talking about the bones in your grandma's backyard. I'm talking thousands, hundreds of thousands of bones here, adventurer. This is a towering terror. This won't surprise you, but the giant monster skeleton looks like a giant monster skeleton. Said to be 15 times larger than an ordinary skeleton like you or I have. From the sketches I've seen, it seems as though these bleached bones of the dead have, through some otherworldly manipulation, been reconstructed to form a new solid structure, perfectly mimicking a human skeleton. I have heard from other folks that say it's actually a paranormal force that gathers the bones together, pinning them in place to force the giant's form. All I can say is that no person alive has ever gotten close to confirm either of these theories. Maybe that lucky someone will be you, my brave adventurer. So if you're ever out looking for one of these horrors, know they don't stick to one place. They like to roam. Countryside, woodlands, deserts, anywhere really. They're giants. There's very little that can prevent a Gashadokuro from taking a relaxing stroll. They're especially fond of areas where the dead have been left to rot. Old battlefields, abandoned villages, places where the earth itself feels cursed. But don't think you're safe in the towns. I've heard many stories of them wandering into the human settlements, drawn by the scent of the living, or the town was just unfortunately in the path of this titan. Now listen close, adventurer, because this is where it gets grim. The Gashadokuro is strong, very strong. Strong enough, in fact, to crush a tavern with a single skeleton hand. And they move silently, despite their size, so you won't know it's there until it's too late. But if you've got the gods on your side, then you might hear that clattering of bone I mentioned earlier, or one other sound. Have you ever heard a ringing in your ear? Bet you have. Well, that could have been the Gashadokuro, just before it's about to attack. So if you think you're brave enough to face this spooky, scary skeleton, then do not, under any circumstance, look into its eyes. You see that man over there? He claims to have witnessed a Gashadokuro attack in the woods, about 15 miles from here. Claims he saw people stood directly in front of the giant, heads craned high, and bodies frozen in place. Even as the people around them were being crushed and their heads were bitten off, these souls were paralysed, like a rabbit staring down a wolf. And I don't think you can fight it. Swords, axes, arrows. I don't know what that is there you've got, but that's not going to work either. So how do you kill what's already dead? We'll get to that. For now, let's carry on with what this massive bag of bones can do. In addition to its overwhelming size and physical strength, the Gashadokuro is essentially immortal. This creature, although it clearly enjoys the taste and mouthfeel of human flesh, it doesn't actually need to eat in order to survive. Turns out the secret to a long life is to run on a cocktail of pure malice and hatred. Although it is said that once this raw energy is exhausted, the Gashadokuro will collapse, and the thousands and thousands of bones that once made this titan will come crumbling back to Earth. The only issue with this little tip is that I couldn't find any concrete timeline for how long this energy will last. Unfortunately, the Gashadokuro doesn't come with a fuel gauge, so make sure you're wearing comfortable shoes, adventurer, because if one spies you during its lunch break, you're going to be running, maybe for an afternoon, or maybe a few thousand years. So if you're what some would say foolish, but I'll say plucky enough, to go looking for some Gashadokuro trouble, here's what you need to know in order to survive. First off, if you hear that rattling sound, run. If you hear a chattering sound, run. If you hear a high-pitched ringing, run. Do not try to fight it. You'll end up losing your head and looking like a squished juice box. And don't forget to accessorize. Carrying a charm or two, specifically a Shinto charm, will help in your encounter, as these are said to help ward off the creature. Well, let's say you ignore everything I've just told you, or you think some measly skeleton is nothing for the great adventurer that you are. In that case, your best bet is to hope you're not alone. That way you can escape, while your friends freeze in terror and have their heads bitten off. I do also have one more theory that might help. Since it's the energy of anger that fuels a Gashadokuro, if you're able to resolve whatever inner pain has caused this emotion, you may have just found a way to become the hero of the land. I would like to add a disclaimer here though. This has not been tested. So please do not mention me or my tavern should you attempt this and fail. On the other hand, if you're successful, please mention the wonderful little tavern and its handsome tavern keeper that provided you with this helpful little tidbit. And with that, we're finished with our creature for the day. We've learned that some demons... We've learned that when defeating some demons, a little therapy can be mightier than the sword. And that bell means it's last call here at Creature Tavern. So grab yourself one more drink for the road. And until next time, tread carefully, adventurer. You never know when you might wander into the weird